All right, I think we're on. Hold on, let me double check here. Make sure we're actually are on. Oh man, it usually takes a minute on YouTube for YouTube live stream to kick in. All right. I think where is it? Okay, so welcome everybody to another session of YouTube live stream. And man, I just got back from work, so I'm really exhausted. I may not be doing this too long, but I just want to share a few of my thoughts about these two shows that arrived this Memorial Day weekend. Um, so if you don't want spoilers, you might want to look away. But if you don't mind spoilers, even if you haven't watched these shows, hey, no, welcome. So let's start with Stranger Things season 4, volume 1. That's episodes 1 through 7 that arrived this past Friday on Netflix. You have already watched my non spoilers review on YouTube. Here's a snippet of it. And many of you commented, most of you commented about wanting to know spoilers, which is natural. You know, if you are a fan of the show, you want to know details that at the time I was not allowed to share or spill. But now that the show is already out, or the season is already out for you guys to enjoy, I can talk a bit about what my thoughts are on those spoilers. Um, First of all, before the big ones, I just want to also, not also, I want to pick from the commenters here. Okay, here it is. So this one from Marisol, this is an interesting one. Marisol says, is Byler's going to happen this season? And that's Mike and Will. So Marisol is hinting that Mike and Will might have some romantic hints there. And she's not alone saying that, because Selena also suggests that there's something between Mike and Will. And I think there's another comment about Mike, Will, and 11 being a love triangle. Oh man, I forgot which one is this. Well, anyway, apparently there has been some assumption that Mike, Will, and 11 are in this love triangle type storyline. If you have seen episodes 1 through 7, do I believe that there's something there? Something underneath it? Like something that's like a feeling or a crush, maybe the one that Will might have towards Mike. You know, maybe some jealousy because Mike likes 11 and whatnot. Did I sense that when I was watching those episodes? I'm not gonna lie. You know, in the back of my head, I was like, maybe there's something there. But right now, though, as I have answered some of those commenters in my reply to them, right now I feel like it's more of Will feeling that his BFF Mike is drifting away from him, because Mike was literally away from them, and then he came back, and when he came back in this season, of course he focused most of his attention on 11, obviously because 11 is his girlfriend, or Jane, I should say. And so I think that's where the jealousy kicks in. It's more of like, hey, we used to be close, we used to be buddies. Now maybe Will is thinking that 11 is the Yoko Ono in their, Paul McCartney, John Lennon sort of dynamics between him and Mike. That's the impression I got. Do I get the impression that Will might want something more with Mike romantically, perhaps? I don't know. I can't quite tell from these 7 episodes if that is what the writers are, directing those two characters towards. Like, oh, maybe a Brokeback Mountain sort of a deal there. I think a lot of the fans of Stranger Things want it to be that way. They want it there to be something between Will and Mike. Instead of just like uh, hey, we used to be best buds. You know, they want for some romance, you know, some gay romance or what. But I think at this point we are if we are hoping for that, then we are reading too much into it. I think, in my opinion. So, but if that is the case, if that does happen, I am not against it. I'm, I'm not gonna be like, you know what? I don't want Will and Mike to get together. What is this crap? I'm done with Stranger Things. No, no, no. As long as they can make it, as long as the writers can, you know, ease that into it. You know what I'm saying? That it doesn't come off as forced or something that's just like, okay, you guys want this? Here you go. You know, it's like, but how about 11? You know, her feelings have to matter as well. Her feelings have to, you know, play into factor as well. So there has to be a very finesse way of doing that, if that is the direction that they're heading. You know, with Will and Mike potentially being boyfriends. um, the other thing that the commenters mentioned is between the dynamics between Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan. So that's another love triangle. You know, maybe, maybe not. Um, and then in the mix, of course, there's Robin. You know, a lot of you guys said, hey, or asked, hey, how about Robin in the, you know, between Robin, Nancy, and Steve? Well, let me just lump those in and answer it with this question. I mean, answer it with this statement. Um, I think it's obvious that Nancy still has feelings for Steve. And if you've seen those episodes, it's also obvious that Steve still has feelings for Nancy. And it's obvious that Jonathan and Nancy are drifting apart, you know, the same way that Will and Mike are drifting apart, but we don't know if Will and Mike are romantic. But there's something off there between Jonathan and Nancy. Um, so I from those 7 episodes that we've watched of this volume 1, it seems that it's heading the direction of Steve and Nancy possibly getting together. Um, Especially with Steve being all half naked in the upside down. there's there's a lot of emphasis of Steve being looking hot right now with his hairy chest, and you know, the episodes make him seem even more physically appealing than he did in the previous seasons. Um, you know, even Robin, who doesn't play for that team, like like admits, like, oh yeah, you know, Steve's got it, man. Steve's got it. um, so that's that. I think between Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan, that love triangle is a lot more clear, or a lot clearer than the ambiguous maybe, maybe not going on between 11, Mike, and Will. You see where I'm getting at? So, and Robin and Steve are just platonic, as they've mentioned many, many times on these 7 episodes. So there's nothing really there going on between them. But yeah, and some of you guys asked on the comments here who are my favorite characters on this new season. Um, of course, the usual suspects, including Dustin, you know, are my favorites. But for the new ones, I gotta say Eddie. Eddie is probably my latest favorite new character on Stranger Things, and the guy who plays Eddie is fantastic, man. Holy crap! I can't remember his name. I think he's British, and he's in. He's actually. I'm sorry. He's actually in his late third. He's in his late 20s right now. I think in 28, 27, around that. But he looks so cool with that long hair, looking like a Black Sabbath fan. And he's so passionate when it comes when talking about D&D. That guy's a great actor. You know, you could sense the fear also in his eyes because he's like, oh my God, you know, as he witnessed the deaths of both Patrick and that cheerleader, Chrissy, I believe her name. He's just so terrified, man. So I love him. He's a great new character, Eddie. So he's my latest favorite now. As far as the other details of spoilers, let's go through it real quickly. Vecna, oh my God, Vecna is amazing as a villain. Holy crap! And we found out at the end of episode 7 that Vecna is number one. Now, here's what's trippy. Oh my! Here's what I love about episode 7. It's so trippy. Like you can't really tell the timeline of the events that's going on between 11 and number one, because for the most part it seems like, oh my God, it's going on in the present. Maybe it's in that bunker. Maybe number one is, but then turns out it's all in her memory, in her dream, and it's all, she's like lying in that water tank, right? So she's like remembering these things. So it's supposedly happened in the past, and then by the end of episode 7, we see the transformation of number one turning into Vecna, and it's like, oh my God, we thought we saw the whole thing in the present day, but maybe not. It was so crazy. It was so totally wicked. It threw me off a little bit, and I loved it. I was like, oh my God, because I think we could have kind of sensed the trick along the way a little bit, if you had noticed, or if you paid attention closely to, because there were moments when number one was talking to 11. There were moments when during their conversation, the camera kind of gave it away, because it seems that 11 was in her child form, like back in her younger self when she was smaller, you know. It seemed like, you could see that in the reflection of the mirror, for example, as opposed to how she is now. She's bigger now, of course, like everybody else is bigger now. So that's the hint that kind of the episode kind of gave away. It's like, oh, this might not happen in the timeline that you think it's happening. So episode 7 is so trippy, man, so trippy. And the guy who plays number one, um, I believe his name is Jamie Campbell. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but he years ago he was on the same show with Eva Green called Camelot, which was short lived. It got canceled after like one season, but I loved it. I thought that was a great show that did not get its well deserved attention or well deserved ratings. So he was, man, he was amazing as number one, as Vecna. He's just so devious, man. You totally fall for him, like 11 falls for him as well. Such a manipulative character. This guy is number one. Wow, and he's vicious, very violent, and unhinged. Holy crap! But that's Vecna. Let's see here. There's some. There's some spam coming here. So, okay. Okay, so the next one is, before we get to Obi-Wan Kenobi, let's see what else here. There's these other spoilers, they're not that big of a deal. I'm just going to end with the spoiler about Hopper. So, oh no, you know what? Before I get to Hopper, real quick, a lot of people out there have addressed their concern about Stranger Things being longer now, the runtime, like an hour and a half, an hour 15, sometimes an hour 40 minutes per episode. Um, I gotta be honest with you guys. You guys are entitled to your complaint. If you are complaining about that, that's fine. But I didn't mind it. I did not mind that the episodes were longer. Um, it's a different thing if it's a show that I don't care about, if it's characters that I couldn't care less about, then yeah, I would be like, oh man, this feels like so dragged out. What the hell, you know? But these are characters that I love, man. And when you love a show like Stranger Things as much as I do, you would want more of it. I know I do, and I'm glad that I got more of it. You know, it didn't feel like it went on and on and on and on because I even when they split up the characters into small groups, I was so invested and so interested in seeing how, the journeys of these small groups, where they're going, where they're heading, which leads also to another comment. There you go. I think in the other comment here. Okay, from Ali Arshad on the comment, is Mike and Will Jonathan are sidelining the show, as some people are suggesting? Please reply. So Ali Arshad heard from other critics that suggest or commented that Mike, Will, and Jonathan's storyline, they described it as sideline, as getting sidelined. And I was surprised when Ali Arshad said that. I mentioned like sideline. Is that what people are calling it? Will and Mike and Jonathan's storyline may not be. I mean, is it not as big as the storylines of Eleven or Nancy and Steve? Yeah, yeah, yeah. The answer to that is yes. It's not as big. It's not as significant. It's not as frequent, right? We rarely see Mike, Will, and Jonathan, and that the guy with the long hair, Argyle, his name. Their journey is small compared to the other ones. Fair, right? If you want to say that, that's fair. But is it sideline? Can you call it sideline? I don't know if I could. I don't know if I would call it because sideline suggests to me, being benched, being put in the corner, put baby in the corner, using Dirty Dancing reference. That's what sideline suggests to me. Like for example, like for instance, Mike and Will and Jonathan would have to get up and say, "Hey, put me in, coach. Put me in. Play me, coach." As if they have to beg, for the Duffer Brothers to put them in to the court because they've been benched all this time. No, I don't think sideline is how I would describe it. So, but if that's how people perceive it, because it's not as frequent as the other ones, the storylines go. I get it, but I personally would not call them sideline. Um, as far as Hopper, I know some people think that the Hopper storyline in the Soviet Gulag is the weakest of season 4. I disagree. I think his storyline is fascinating. I mentioned in my review, it's like Bridge on River Kwai meets Prison Break. Um, and I love how it messes with your expectation. You think like Yuri's gonna take them to see Hopper already, or that Hopper's gonna escape. Oh my God, he's gone to the church. But of course, things always don't go as I'm sorry, things don't always go as planned, right? Something will always come up. They screw everything up. It's just like so. That's what I love about the writers would throw a wrench on that storyline, and they would mess with our hopes and expectations. Like, oh my God, he almost got out. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I think Hopper's storyline is very underrated, and it allows for David Harbour to, show his tougher physical, side more than he's ever done before. Okay, so those are my thoughts on the spoilers of Stranger Things season 4. Um, the rest, I guess we'll just have to talk about later when Volume 2 arrives. We're gonna talk about Upside Down with those bats. By the way, the whole visual effects of Robin and Eddie going back into the reality, if you will, the actual Hawkins, is fantastic. That whole thing when they're climbing up the bed sheet and then falling upward, if you will, that was cool. That was really cool. I don't know if Emmy Award. I don't know if Emmy Award has a category for visual effects. Maybe you can remind me if they do or not. But if there is a category for best visual effects, that scene right there should be enough for the show to get nominated for that category. All right, so we go to Obi-Wan Kenobi series because I am feeling exhausted. I need to go get dinner. I just got back from work and I'm tired. um, okay, what you want to know my thoughts about Obi-Wan Kenobi? Oh, let's go to the comment real quick here. Let's in the chat. Dominic says, "Glad you enjoyed the show. I may get into them at some point. I always uh, wanted to get into Stranger Things. Finn seemed like a good guy, and it seems like a great show. Oh yeah, Dominic, whenever you have time, make time for Stranger Things. You won't regret it. Daniel's hot topics. Hello, Rama. How are you tonight? I just finished watching Men in Black 3, great movie, and now I'm watching Men in Black International. It's not a bad movie like everyone says. Oh yeah, I mean, Men in Black 3, it was okay. Men in Black International, it felt weird without Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. I'm just gonna, out loud say it. It's some franchise. You're just so you have associated some franchises with some faces and some names that you just can't. It just won't work without those faces and those names. Even if you throw in a big movie star like Chris Hemsworth. But that's just my opinion. But I'm glad you're enjoying it, Daniel's Hot Topics. That's a topic for another time, for another video. Pun intended, because your name's Daniel's Hot Topics. Okay. Obi-Wan Kenobi series. This came out this past Thursday night. I was not able to watch it until now, or until this earlier this afternoon, because I was working. You know me. I work in the weekends. That's why I rarely post much any. I rarely post any video during the weekend. If you hadn't noticed by now, because I'm at work. I am at work every weekend. So I watched it a couple of hours ago. The first 2 episodes. They dropped the first 2 episodes. And I gotta be honest with you guys. My verdict, and pardon my French, but Obi-Wan Kenobi series was fucking awful. It was terrible. I felt like, oh my god, as a fan of Star Wars, I'm like, what the hell am I watching? This is some shitty show. The writing is just terrible. The quality of the writing, man, the dialogues are just trash. And you know what? I think what I hate the most about this show is that it focuses too much on uh, nostalgia. Which there's nothing wrong with nostalgia. Obviously, you can make a good show banking on what you remember or what you love about the franchise. But Obi-Wan Kenobi just overdoes it. Holy crap. They're like, oh yeah, do you remember Phantom Menace? Do you remember, Revenge of the Sith? Do you remember the, it's like, oh my god, it's like, just can we, do you guys do you guys have nothing fresh to bring to the table? All you guys throwing at me is just like all these nostalgia, like it's just like overwhelming and bombarding my face with it. It's just like, geez. And then number 2. Obi-Wan Kenobi series is fucking awful because if the nostalgia overload does not annoy you, the cameo overload will. Oh my god, Kumail Nanjiani, Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, and all these other. It's like, and of course they're like, oh look, it's young Leia Organa. Oh my god! Like, oh, it's young Luke. And that's the writers are just banking on trying to get easily amused fans to geek out. It's like, oh, if we throw in this, this character that they know, but the younger self, oh, they're gonna get giddy because they're not that. The writers are buying on the unfortunate fact that a lot of Star Wars fans are not sophisticated. They're just so easily amused. You can just throw in like, for example, what's the character you could play from the past here? Maybe they'll have a young Master Qui-Gon, right? Master Qui-Gon back when he was 17 years old. Let's just throw him in there, or let's throw in a character from Star Wars Rebels or Star Wars, make him live action. Throw him in there. Does it matter? Does it fit into the storyline? No, it doesn't. But just throw him in there. You know, that's all they're banking on, man. It's just I know there's cameos that don't make sense as well. They're so distracting. Like, do we need to have Kumail Nanjiani in there? Do we need to have the basis of Red Hot Chili Pepper in there? Flea. I was like, really, guys? I like, oh, you want to focus on Obi's journey, but you like seeing all these like what are you? And I okay. And number three, the reason why it's fucking awful, the bad guys are not that threatening. The bad guys are not that menacing. What in the freaking A, dude? You have the Grand Inquisitor, right? Spoiler alert, again, this is a spoiler video. You know, he has this reputation from the animation world of Star Wars. And guess what? Guess what? They killed him off in the second episode. Like he's nothing. Like he's an asshole. And this new girl Reva just like stabs him. Like what the hell? What the hell? And Reva, the villain girl, not to dog on the actress, but she is terrible. That performance is awful. Holy crap. My God. A lot of the performances on this show, except for probably Ewan McGregor and maybe Joel Edgerton, the rest are just awful. And Reva is like, who is this? Like, she's so pissed at Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, she's on a vengeance path. But there's no... I'm sure in the next episode or whatnot that we're gonna find out more about her. I get it, but judging from these two episodes, it's like, who is this? Like, and she's like, oh, so caricature. She's so cartoony. She's all just driven by rage and in a repulsive kind of way too. Nothing like that I would get behind, or like nothing that I'm cheering for. She's not one of those bad guys that you kind of love to hate or that you would cheer for. You know, like the Joker, for example. Sometimes the Joker is so bad, like, oh my God, he's so good at being bad. This one is just over the top. Reva is just like, I don't know, dude. It's so, like I said, like a walking caricature. Like it's terrible. And there's no threat to her. Like there's a scene at the end of episode 2, when Obi-Wan Kenobi tries to escape Reva. I think that's her name, right? Reva. And that's when Grand Inquisitor got killed. And it was just dumb, dude. It was so dumb. he got on with young Leia. And then I think she yelled like, I will find you and I will kill you. I'm like, who writes this shit? The writer of the movie Taken, starring Liam Neeson? Oh, it's so horrible. And a lot of I noticed a lot of the fans, because I noticed some of the tweets on Friday night, even though I didn't watch it till today. They were mentioning about the chase, so I was like, what chase sequence? Oh, apparently the chase sequence in the first episode of Flea, the basis of Red Hot Chili Pepper, and his goons chasing after young Leia Organa. And yeah, it looks terrible. It looked like the whole production, not just episode 1, the whole production looked like something that should be on a sci-fi channel. You know what I'm saying? And I feel so sad because you expect more from Lucasfilm or more from, the guys who gave us Mandalorian, right? The Mandalorian was amazing. But this looks like something out of a sci-fi channel. It's so cheap and ay, holy crap. I don't know, man. I think at this point I wanna hold on to hope that it might get better in the subsequent episodes. But these 2 episodes were just shitty, just terrible. Oh my goodness. Which leads me to my last point. All right, I gave you 3 reasons why it's fucking awful. The other reason, the fourth reason is the girl who played the girl who plays Leia Organa, the young Leia Organa, is annoying as hell. She's a annoying little shit. Pardon my French, and it doesn't help that the script also forces her to say all these lines that are just too adult for her age. It's just like there's nothing about her that's likable, and it's just and it's not cool because Leia is an iconic character, but they turned her into something like that. Supposedly, like, oh, when she was young, she's annoying as shit. It's like, oh man, I don't believe that. Um, Daniel Satap is super from over. Of course, the Mandalorian is miles better than Kenobi. Which surprised me because it's the same creative talents, the same creative people who made Mandalorian also made Obi-Wan Kenobi. So there's some disconnect there. I don't know what it is, but the writing on this show is just pure shit. So I guess which leads me to my last point. Um, some people, after watching these first two episodes, I come to question, like, do we really need to know what happens in the period of time between Revenge of Sith and A New Hope? As far as Obi and Anakin goes, I guess some people want to know that. Some people want that gap to be filled, if you will. But if this is how it goes, maybe they should have turned this into a 2-hour movie instead of a 6 episodic kind of miniseries. Because that would have at least, if a 2-hour movie or a 90-minute movie, it would have softened the blow a little bit. It would have lessened the pain a little bit. Because you don't have to go through all these other shortcomings that you see in the first 2 episodes. If you just cramped it into like a feature film and just make it about another epic showdown between Obi-Wan and Anakin, that would have been so much better in my opinion. After watching these first 2 episodes, again, I'm open to being proven wrong. We'll see, because episode 3 comes out this coming Friday. Maybe it'll get better. I'm not holding my breath. So if you haven't seen Obi-Wan Kenobi and you still want to check out the first 2 episodes, just make sure you lower your expectations, you guys. Lower them down, like down. So that way you won't get disappointed, because I was hugely disappointed by these first 2 episodes at least. It's just, it is so goddamn poorly made. Oh, and the dialogues, man, they're just so atrocious. So yeah, that's my impression. That's my opinion. Those are my thoughts about Obi-Wan Kenobi first 2 episodes. So Stranger Things 4 Volume 1 was awesome. Obi-Wan Kenobi first 2 episodes were trash. So a split decision there between the 2 shows. Like night and day, very distinct. So that's it. I'm gonna go get dinner now because I'm so exhausted from working all day long. Suraj Singh is here. What's up, Sorav? I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I believe it's Sorav, right? I just hope they don't kill Steve. He was cuffing in episode 7. Maybe Mind Flayer control his mind now. That is one theory. I know some of you guys in the comment section of my video review, asked me about Mind Flayer. Obviously, Mind Flayer did not show up in the first 7 episodes. It was all about Vecna, the new villain in town. I think, you know what, Sarav, I think my theory, if you want to ask me, I haven't seen Volume 2 yet, but I think the Steve cuffing, was probably because of those bats, dude. And it's not because they had rabies, like Robin said. But come on, you get physically attacked by those bats and not expect some sort of poison or venom or something injected into you? You would be naive to think that. I think there's something there. But the Mind Flayer theory, is also plausible. So, who knows? Do I think that they're gonna kill off Steve? the same way they did Bill and make Steve sort of like the martyr hero. That's also possible. That's also possible. You don't know because like I mentioned in my reviews, like I think the writers are setting things up for something gut wrenching to happen along the way because this whole is Steve and Nancy gonna be happening here, or is Steve gonna, or is Nancy gonna still be with Jonathan? That whole thing I think is gonna be like something's gonna die. Somebody's gonna die, and if Steve's gonna die, that would break Nancy's heart, and that would make us all cry, and that would be like the most epic, talked about death. So maybe who knows? That could be what's happening down the road, but we'll have to wait till Volume 2 arrives in July, I believe. So we got about a month until Volume 2 arrives. So that's right. All right. Good night. Good night to you too, Sarav, and good night to all of you, Daniel's Hot Topics, and Dominic John Spano. Thank you for chatting with me, and those of you guys who did not get to chat with me, have you seen these two shows? Share your thoughts about them in the comment section below, and as always, subscribe. Let's rock this.